Greetings, family. Greetings. I'm Luminous, and today I'd like to illuminate one of the most polarized conditions out there facing the human race. My quest here is to help us all understand the dysfunctions that we are dealing with. The goal is to help end the suffering that we are enduring at this time. So bear with me. At this moment, I invoke the energies of higher wisdom, higher understanding, as summon the higher self to align and subdue all creations of the lower mindset, the lower self, the ego, and vanquish any workings of the opposing force antagonists to try to manipulate, influence this transmission. I call forth your higher understanding, the higher mind, so hear me. My quest on this planet at this time is to help advance the healing of the human race. We as a race are facing challenges at this time that needs to be addressed. And of all the challenges that we are facing now, the biggest one that I have come to understand is the challenge of the mind. Self, identity, who we are. To understand what I am trying to present here requires an advancement of your level of consciousness, a movement from your lower level of consciousness into a higher level of consciousness. And to those who have the capacity to understand, give thanks to you, and those who do not, I call forth the energies present to aid you to understand this transmission. First and foremost, at this time, those who want to know, but my origin isn't of this planet, it's not of this earth, but of another planet, or of another system. The star system we call Leo, Regulus. It is the one, it is from that star, that our star, the light we call the sun, hails from. And that is my identity. I'm a solar avatar. My identity, my thinking, my feelings, my expressions are all solar. I identify with the light. That's all I am. I place here to illuminate the conditions to help us understand the things that we need to understand in order to move forward and heal. This video is to address racism, why we need to take it seriously, specifically the black race, the melanated race. Behind me are images beginning from left, Martin Luther King, Barack Obama, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela, and Bob Nestor Marley. These men represent the struggle of the human race, not just the black people alone, but the entire human race, specifically the black people. A struggle of survival, acceptance, recognition, respect, of being. Because of all the races on the planet that are suffering today, it is the black race that have endured or suffered the most. And this video is to identify, illuminate that reason, the condition, to help us understand what needs to take place, what happened, and how to address it accordingly. My background is medical, and I'm going to use a medical approach to try and understand, I'm going to take a medical approach to explain what needs to be explained here so we can understand that more. In the medical field, in order to cure or treat any disease, the first step is to diagnose the condition. To diagnose a condition, any disease, requires work, labs, vital signs, assessments, x-rays, and stuff like that. And during that assessment, that is when you extract blood work or look beyond the skin to see what is there, to try to identify what is happening to whatever condition needs to be addressed. I'm going to take the same approach to address the condition that we identify today as racism. In order to understand the condition that is now ripping family support across the globe, across the United States and the rest of the world. We need to identify exactly what it is, what is causing it, and how to deal with it accordingly. When it comes to race, I myself have felt the claws of what it means to be this skin color on this planet today. I'll address this condition on multiple levels, beginning with the common condition of the common identity or the narrative that we have been fed from basic education and family members to basic education to the highest levels in the education system. Identity. The word race is a very controversial word that I wish we didn't even have to deal with at this time. It is very, very distorted. And what that means is that it does not identify with our truth of who and what we are. Now, this part of this recording specifically for Black people, in order to end the global despise that we're experiencing now, we have to understand what is taking place. When it comes to the issue of racism, it is not just in America alone, but the whole world, especially on the African continent. But in fact, it is worse on the African continent than in America right now. On the African continent, the African view of themselves and anybody of that skin color is very low. So low that anybody of a foreign color can come to the African continent and be held high above all Africans at this time. When it comes to identifying the human idea of who we are, color isn't the place to go in. Color is a very basic identity for who we are. And so, if you accept something that's not in alignment with your truth, eventually it degrades you. Now, take a look at this right here, this, and compare it to this. If you compare these two colors, you identify a difference immediately. They're not the same. These two colors are not the same. They're not. And this color has a very powerful spiritual influence on whatever it is identified with. And that influence is the power behind all the suffering that Black people are going through today. The murders, the violence, the assaults, the disrespect because of our association with this color. Now, here's why. First, so that's not our color. That's not my color, that's for sure. And I don't accept that as my color. Neither are the other races white or anybody yellow, for that matter. When we identify ourselves with false identities or false realities, it begins to attack us intellectually. And of all the colors there are, we're talking about vibration. The universe that we live in exists in vibration, communicates through vibrations, and operates through vibrations. Light is one level of vibration, sound is another. So is color. When you take the colors and you arrange them, the highest vibration, the highest spectrum, highest vibration, that's white, that's light. The lowest vibration is darkness, black, that's the lowest vibration. And it's within that vibration that all the negative forces operate. You understand, the subterranean demons and gods and all the spirits of the other world, we will discuss in another video, but that's where all the dysfunctions exist, in the dark side of ourselves, the lower self. There's the color of the ego, the lower self. So when you identify with it, that's what you're attracting into yourself. There is a code word, there's an influence word, or there's an influence theme behind every word in the English language. And in the color black, that influence is to lack. L-A-C-K, to lack, that which lacks. So when you identify with that color. You're identifying yourself with that reality as well, that meaning as well, the vibration of that color as well. And that identity for people of our skin color is new. It started with the enslavement, the assault, the invasion, the enslavement of the African people. That is when that name began. The people who enslaved the African people, who invaded it, were the ones who gave that name to the African people. And to accept it and own it with pride is similar to accepting a title by somebody who despises you. So we need to start identifying ourselves with our truth. Now, to help us understand what that means, the melanated race, we have the skin color for a reason. Now, that reason is this: we're given this color because of the pigment in it. The pigment. Our pigment is a light-absorbing pigment and operates in the human body similar to what chlorophyll does in the leaves of plants. It absorbs light and processes it. Understand? If you look at the human race as a tree, the melanated race of black people that are given that title to are the leaves of humanity. We absorb light and we process it for the rest of us to enjoy. We have the skin color because of our relationship to the sun. That's all. We are solar people. We are not black. Solar. Accepting the title is part of what is destroying us. We are not. That's not our color. If you take a good look at your skin color, it's not black. And the time to start identifying with that truth is now. In order to rid or fight racism, it will require transformation within our own selves, among ourselves, before even we deal with other races and how they perceive us. We have to identify where we are. We have to reclaim our place in the human race on the planet. Just as a plant, when a plant germinates, the first part of the plant that breaks the surface through the earth is the leaf. The leaf, and the leaf reaches straight for the sun. And after that, the plant, the first stalks, and the stem and everything else follows. That is what we represent. We are the primary race of the planet. And when we understand that the rest of the people who are here with us, the rest of the race who are here with us, who have lost respect for us because we've given our identity away, will begin to respect us again. We have to do work. We have to heal ourselves. Now, for those of us who need to understand within this melanated race, the solar race, we have to begin to identify or to understand that there are people within our race who are operating against us, who are operating in the interest of the forces that are operating against us, that are working against us to try and subdue, degrade, and destroy us. We have to understand that people within our own race who are doing that. Now, what caused the African or the melanated race to degrade to what it has become now? It's a phenomenon that took place many thousand years ago, about 5,000-6,000 years ago. It's a corruption that took place that degraded, that destroyed the African people from within. And then there was a spell that came in that was cast. A spell was cast to subdue the African continent, the African people. And after that, the invasions came to feed and to advance the agenda behind the people who cast the spell. Now, in order for racism to end, there are two things that need to happen. First, we need to heal. And in order to heal, we need to understand what the problem is so we can deal with it accordingly. Then second, we need to break that spell. And to break that spell, we have to come together. You understand? We have to stop attacking each other, hating each other. We have to identify the fault. And there's a mystery, or there's a puzzle that needs to be solved. That is my work. But we need to understand that we are under attack. And our identity, the stealing of our identity, is part of that attack. It's a mental, spiritual attack. And when we identify that and we allow those who have answers to come in and solve the problem or help us, then we will begin to actually start manifesting our healing, and eventually reclaim our place, and then eventually next, our respect. Everybody knows that respect is earned. It's not just given because you demand it, it's earned. The reason why our people are getting slaughtered on the streets today, and we are slaughtering ourselves in our homes, in the hoods, is because of the spell that was cast against us, because of our because of our corruption. And we have to identify that. That is my priority. I am moving within this reality to help us understand that so we can heal, because it is the healing that is needed the most. At this time, we have to understand that we were the primary race on this planet, or we are the primary race on this planet, and all the other races originated from us. And they have, when we understand that, and we are able to embody what we were before, when the rest of the world respected us, this foolishness that we're dealing with will disappear. Understand? But it's not the kneeling and the protesting, the marching and the screaming and the yelling that will end racism. It is the healing that will end it. Our healing. The healing of the melanated race. And that healing begins with first understanding what the problem is, how it got there, and how to fix it. That is the purpose of this video. Our skin, this right here, makes up a very small percentage of who we are, of our whole total being. Very small percentage of our total being, about 2-3% of our total being. And the pigment that we see has nothing to do with who we are. It just has to do with protection. You understand? It has nothing to do with who we are. But protecting the organs underneath our skin. That's what the color represents. Now, when it comes to the concept of perception, there are levels to it. We have the basic concept, the intermediate concept, and the higher concept. The differences are this. The basic concept is derived from the basic perception of our understanding, and the intermediate is derived from the intermediate perception of our understanding, and the higher is derived from the higher perception of our understanding. To understand and pierce, penetrate the illusion that has been created when it comes to identity, we need an elevation in our thinking, our consciousness, from lower to middle, minimum, to the highest, at best. When we begin to identify ourselves with color, which does not define who we are, it begins to degrade our thinking, whether we know it or not. That is just how the human mind works. It begins to degrade our perception, our intelligence, because we are accepting a false idea of ourselves. When it comes to the melanated race, I like to identify the specific flaw that I see. That we are oblivious of what our perception of ourselves is doing to us. The melanated race, we are oblivious. So in this time, at this hour, I would like to explain what that is, so those of you who hold the capacity of understanding can understand what this means. When you accept an identity for yourself, it has to match who you really are. It has to match, your identity has to be identical to who you are. If it's not, then it begins to degrade you intellectually, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. An example is a horse that accepts that it's a chicken. If a horse is forced to believe that it's a chicken, and it believes that, that horse will cease to become a horse immediately, and eventually it will degrade in strength, it will degrade in capacity, and it will degrade in even appearance as well. If a horse believes that it's a chicken, it will start to quack and behave like chicken. And eventually, it might even turn into one. If a lion believes that it's a sheep and walks among the sheep and behaves like one, will eventually begin to look like one. And even the wolves will laugh at the lion because the lion does not know what it is. So if someone as mighty and as grand as a human being accepts the identity, accepts color as the identity, eventually it will degrade them. And this is the dysfunction that is feeding racism across the globe. So in order for us to heal from this dysfunction, this sickness, yes, that's what it is. Racism is a sickness. It's a sickness. It's a spiritual sickness, a sickness of the spirit and a sickness of the mind. And it's usually produced in the minds and energy of people who are not aware of who they are. We have, when it comes to that condition, we have one group of people who have been misidentified as a specific race, who are attacking another race and hating on them without understanding what they do. And then you have that race that does not understand itself either, that's been misidentified as well, accepting that false identity and then responding to that hatred, not really knowing what they're doing either. And in the middle are these two just clashing with each other over something that is so simple as an identity. We have to address the things that happened in our past that brought us here in the first place, because it is human nature to view something that someone doesn't respect and then treat it according to a certain level of perception. So before we can address what needs to be addressed, we have to first understand the condition. The condition is that we have been misidentified, or we have accepted a false identity of who we are and why we're here. That false identity is the color black. That's not what we are. We are not black. We are solar. Understand? That's why we have this color. We are solar. The melanin is in black. Even the darkest of us is in black, are in black. So the idea of accepting it as our color is unacceptable. So we have to move beyond that. We have to identify ourselves as who we are. We have to reclaim our identity and restore our place in a whole spectrum of humanity, of existence. Restore our place among the human race and change the false identities that have been forced on us by people who invaded us. Understand? The African continent, that name isn't the name of the African continent. It is the name that was given to that continent by the people who invaded it. And those people who invaded it and changed that name are the same people who gave that false identity black to those people that they tied in chains, attacked, and abused. So we have a group of people who came, invaded the place, changed the continent's name, stole our gold, changed the continent's name, and then changed the people's identity, and committed all kinds of atrocities and genocides against them. All that has to be addressed. All of that before the disease we call racism can finally be put in its rightful place, so we can heal, we can get rid of it. The Trumps and the other people out there doing what they're doing don't even understand why we're complaining, because in their eyes they see their actions as legitimate and valid. That's in their eyes. So in order to help them see that what they're doing is wrong, we have to identify the problem and deal with it accordingly by first aligning ourselves with our truth and claiming who we are, restoring our place and identity first among ourselves, and our place in the human race, among the human race, will be restored. We have to heal from all the invasions and aggressions and attacks that we have endured over the years. For the past 6,000 years, the African continent has endured invasions after invasions after invasions, from the Macedonians, the Assyrians, the Persians, the Romans, the Arabs, the English, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the French, the Germans. Everybody that is somebody today, any nation that has any power today, have first gone to the African continent and invaded it. And all that has to be addressed. All that. We can't just sweep it under the carpets and forget that it ever took place, or try to come up with a false story that it never took place. And it will go away. It will never go away until we deal with it directly. And it has to be dealt with from a healing perspective, not from anything else but healing. So the people who this has affected the most are women. Our women, the ones among us that suffered the greatest of all this assaults that we endure, are women. And we have to align ourselves with that truth and find a way to heal them, allow them to heal, and then we can move to the men, we can move to the children and the men, and then the other races will move forward. Will be healed accordingly, and everything else that needs to follow will follow. So it's a time. Right now, what is happening to the world is a call for healing. Understand? The entire human race needs to heal. And of all the races that needs to heal, the black race or the melanated race, or the solar race, are the ones that needs to heal, that need it the most. So I want to address that, and I want to push my attention to try and bring that understanding to our people first, and then invite others to help push that campaign forward so we can heal. Because until we are healed, racism will never end. It's a continuous cycle, and there's a lot more to race who we are than meets the naked eye. And I'll explain that as we move along. But at this time, we need to heal. That's the bottom line. We need to heal. That is the purpose of this video. To identify the flaws and deal with it accordingly. The cause, the roots, the origins, the whole picture.